Nevada Senator John Ensign is in the crosshairs of a Department of Justice criminal investigation.
Criminal probe stems from a romantic affair Ensign had with the wife of his key staffer and close friend Doug Hampton, and what Ensign has done to help Hampton financially.
We do have team coverage tonight, and we start with I-Team reporter George Knapp, who is here now with the exclusive details.
You know, we've known for some time that Ensign's activities are of interest to the FBI and to the Senate Ethics Committee, but this scandal has now gone to a much higher level. The I-Team has learned that subpoenas have been issued to at least 6 Las Vegas businesses, and that the Justice Department came here to interview several prominent business and political figures in what appears to be a wide-ranging and deadly serious criminal probe. There aren't many phrases that pack more weight than this one: subpoena to testify before grand jury. On March 8th, a 2-person team from the Department of Justice came to Las Vegas with a fistful of subpoenas to serve on local businessmen who've had dealings with Senator John Ensign and or his staff since January 2008. The team consisted of a special agent from the FBI and a prosecutor from the Criminal Division Public Integrity Section of the Department of Justice. The subpoenas sought any and all records, including emails, phone calls, and calendars regarding any interaction whatsoever the Las Vegas businesses may have had with Senator Ensign, his chief of staff, John Lopez, the senator's senior staffer and former best friend, Doug Hampton, Hampton's wife, Cindy, who was the object of the senator's romantic interest, Ensign's principal political advisor, Mike Slanker, who, along with his wife, Lindsay, was hired by Ensign to run the fundraising effort for the National Republican Senatorial Committee, and the Slanker's company, November Inc.
He was still in pursuit of Cindy.
After Ensign's affair with Hampton's wife became known, Ensign urged the Slankers to hire Hampton at November Inc. Hampton was later hired by 2 Nevada companies with known ties to Ensign. But the trail of subpoenas makes it clear the Justice Department wants to know if other Las Vegas businesses had their arms twisted to give work to Hampton, whether they were pressured by Ensign or his Senate staffers, and what the businesses expected in return. According to multiple sources familiar with the grand jury subpoenas, investigators do not believe any of the Nevada companies did anything illegal. Their interest is focused on Ensign, Hampton, and others who may have assisted in trying to steer income Hampton's way. Also of note is the time frame. The Washington grand jury wants all of the subpoenaed records by the end of this month, indicating the investigation is moving rapidly. A parallel investigation by the Senate Ethics Committee has also generated subpoenas to Nevadans. Most of those who were subpoenaed by the grand jury were also subpoenaed by the Ethics Committee, but a few served by the Senate were not served by the Department of Justice. The fact that investigators came here not just to interview people but to serve these subpoenas is sort of a clue that they're pretty serious about this matter. The net they cast in town last week was very wide, and Senator Ensign, of course, continues to say he's done nothing wrong, legally or ethically, and that he will cooperate fully with any investigations.
Serious and moving fast.
Yeah.
All right, George.
And as the investigation expands, the FBI and U.S. attorneys are looking for emails that the Ensign, Hampton, and others had to plan for large cash donations and lobbying jobs.
The I-Team has copies of some of those emails that even the grand jury hasn't seen. Jonathan Humbert continues our team coverage.
Jonathan, the senator and his staff are all around town.
Absolutely, and what the emails and sources are telling us, they were shopping Doug Hampton around, trying to get him jobs in exchange for his silence. The senator would give Nevada companies help, but the overall message was to hire Hampton. $30,000 in donations to Republicans wouldn't hurt either.
The emails tell the tale. In early 2008, a group of prepaid credit card companies lost out on a federal bid and asked Senator Ensign's office for help. They wanted to learn from their mistakes and win the bid next time. One of those companies was EcomLink, formerly run by Jack Williams, a man who claimed to have invented the gift card. Senator Ensign's then chief of staff welcomes the opportunity to help a Nevada company. But quickly, Ensign's office seizes the opportunity to get something in return, we're told. Sources close to the situation say Ensign's office warned EcomLink and others about pending prepaid card regulation and that donations and support could make those troublesome rules go away. Ensign's office wanted a lunch meeting and a fundraiser. Then he planned an office visit a few weeks later. Then the big push, more protection from regulation in exchange for a $28,000 contribution to the National Republican Senatorial Committee, the majority makers. The contributions were set up by Lindsay Slanker, wife of Mike Slanker, the very person said to be shopping Doug Hampton around.
I violated the vows of my marriage.
All of this happened while the affair was unraveling in Washington, and Doug Hampton demanded to get jobs. Ensign's people wanted someone, anyone, to hire Doug as a lobbyist. Many companies declined. Eventually, Slanker took Hampton in, the lobbying began, and now the FBI and Senate must decide which laws may have been broken.
Now, Slanker did not return calls today. Jack Williams is no longer with EcomLink. His current business has no listed number. Both George and I have made some of the documents from these investigations public. They're on our website, LasVegasNow.com.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Well, it's been nearly a year since Senator John Ensign admitted to his affair, but the scandal has grown to much more than just an infidelity.
2 federal investigations continue to look into what Ensign allegedly did to help Doug Hampton, the man whose wife Cindy had the affair with Ensign. Also in question, payments made by the senator's family to the Hamptons.
The team's Jonathan Humbert traveled to Washington, D.C. to learn if the senator can still be effective at his job. So can he?
Well, there have been the rumblings of resignation and indictment for weeks and months. But walking around Washington, you get the sense all sides want this scandal to go away. It isn't. Federal investigators aren't letting it go away. So we wanted to see if Ensign's rumored toxic reputation in D.C. was to be believed. He wouldn't sit down with us. So we had to wait.
After 3 weeks of emails and calls to Washington, D.C., we asked to spend time with John Ensign on his turf at his convenience, but we were told he was too busy.
Excuse me, Senator Ensign?
Eventually, the senator ducked out of an office at the end of the hall, and we ran to catch up in the underground tunnel of the U.S. Capitol. We wanted to know about the so-called gift card deal. The I-Team recently revealed emails that show Ensign's allies had toyed around with the idea of using gift cards for donations. It raised internal legal challenges.
Is that something that you were aware of?
Wasn't aware of it at all.
Senate and federal investigators are digging through those same emails.
Either Lindsay
It's unclear how far that plan may have gone.
It's not, you can't do that. So, you can't do that.
We also wanted to know why the senator pushed so hard to get jobs for Doug Hampton. The husband of Ensign's mistress, Hampton had demanded money and employment to make up for leaving the senator's office. Lobbying Ensign would be a violation of Senate rules. He shouldn't have lobbied Ensign for a full year.
You knew he was going to lobby you eventually. Why push to get him jobs when you knew that he had to do that and that was going to happen?
Listen, I've said this many times, you can look at the record. I recommended a lot of different people for jobs, and every senator does that. That's a perfectly normal thing to do. It's up to the employee to honor that. I expected him to honor that. I mean, I operated what I believed was an ethical fashion, followed the laws, and I expected him to do the same.
Ensign clammed up quickly when we talked about the $96,000 payments made from his parents to the Hamptons. That money could be considered an improper gift, another violation.
That, at the end of the day, could be a serious issue for you moving forward.
We've already addressed that. You can read all of our statements on that. We've already addressed that.
But, sir, that's a lot of money to
listen, the people in Nevada, they want me to do my job. Okay, we hear that time and again. They want me to do my job up here. You folks are focused on this other stuff, and we've addressed it enough times.
Yet, as we learned in Washington, Ensign may not be doing his job as promised. 2 hours before our conversation, we tried to find Ensign at 2 different committee hearings. He didn't go to either. Not the Transportation Subcommittee investigating highway safety. He also didn't show at the Homeland Security meeting. Senate heavyweights Lindsey Graham, Joe Lieberman, Tom Coburn, and John McCain all attended. Eventually, we learned Ensign was busy in the morning, not with his work in the Senate, but a 5K team race put on by life insurance companies. Ensign's team, the High Rollers, won in the Senate competition. He even clocked a solid 20-minute run. So the senator was busy, telling us about his work schedule.
I sit on 5 different committees. A lot of them have things at the same time.
But not showing up the day we showed up.
Almost all day.
Now, we were told the senator was in meetings throughout the morning, apparently in his office. Again, this is just one snapshot of one day. The senator was quick to point out that he did attend the hearing on Goldman Sachs the day before, but we offered him time over 3.5 full days. At any time, we would sit down with him, adjust our schedule at any point in Washington. We were told he was simply too busy.
Good evening. Embattled U.S. Senator John Ensign awaits word on whether the Senate Ethics Committee will move forward with public hearings into scandals swirling around the Nevada Republican.
Officially, no decision has been made regarding a formal hearing, but something unfolded in Las Vegas this week which could be a blueprint for the senator's future. And it's not pretty. All this week, I-Team cameras have been secretly recording as Senate investigators talked with a who's who of Las Vegas business and political leaders. George Knapp is here with his exclusive report.
Paula, you'll recall last month we reported that criminal investigators from the Department of Justice were in Las Vegas talking to potential witnesses. This week, at least 2 attorneys for the Senate Ethics Committee have been camped out at a hotel near the Strip where they interviewed a string of witnesses whose testimony could mean the end of John Ensign's political career. What they didn't know is that the I-Team was watching the whole thing go down. The first familiar face to arrive Monday afternoon at the Marriott Suites was Dan Albrecht's, attorney for Doug and Cindy Hampton, the husband and wife who worked for Senator Ensign and who were close personal friends with Ensign's family, that is, until the senator admitted he'd carried on a long extramarital affair with Mrs. Hampton. Cindy Hampton has not been seen in public since the scandal erupted, but someone who looks just like her parked behind Albrecht's, then followed him inside the Marriott where she remained for 2 hours. Later that same afternoon, another potential witness arrived, Derek Lefevre, owner of PhiTech, accompanied by his attorney George Kalessis. Kalessis later confirmed to us his client was interviewed concerning interactions he had with Ensign and the senator's staff. Lefevre was subpoenaed earlier this year by both the Ethics Committee and the Justice Department, seeking all records and emails regarding Ensign and Hampton. Also subpoenaed were executives Jack Williams of EcomLink, Glenn McKay of Selling Source, and Jim Hammer of Paycard USA. Hammer was the first witness to arrive at the Marriott on Tuesday morning. Email records obtained by the committee indicate that Hammer and others were asked by Ensign to find work for Hampton after news of the affair broke. On Tuesday afternoon, prominent Republican strategist Sig Rogich and his chief assistant Chris Cole met with the investigators. They confirmed to us later they were asked about Ensign's attempts to get them to hire Doug Hampton. On the same day, the co-owners of Nevada's preeminent public relations firm R&R Partners arrived at the hotel and went inside. Billy Vasiliadis and Pete Ernott say they can't talk about what they were asked. Each of the potential witnesses who spoke to investigators were given a booklet of procedures explaining the legal framework for the Ensign probe. They were asked but not ordered to keep quiet about the inquiry. On Thursday afternoon, the I-Team went to the hotel suite where most of the interviews were held. The Senate staffer who answered was clearly surprised to see us.
But I can't comment for you.
Sources tell the I-Team the investigators plan to continue meeting with witnesses through Friday, though after our knock on the door, they came out to look for cameras, and it's unknown if the interviews will continue. For the Ethics Committee to spend an entire week on the ground in Las Vegas hearing for themselves the stories of how Ensign tried to find work for Hampton, how he used the same meetings to solicit campaign donations, is a strong suggestion the committee is deadly serious about this scandal.
This is very bad news for Senator Ensign.
The significance of having a team of investigators out here for a week is not lost on some of the potential witnesses. A few of them told us they fully expect to be called to testify under oath whenever the Ethics Committee launches a formal, possibly public hearing into the various threads of this persistent scandal. And one way that messy prospect could be avoided is if Senator Ensign resigns, but he says he did nothing wrong and he plans to seek re-election. And I should emphasize again, all these people being called as witnesses, they did nothing wrong. They're just seeking information here.
Thank you, George.